Hello friends, in today's video I'm going to show you how to create a certificate in AppScript. So this is an email of the certificate sent from the AppScript, and in this email body I have the certificate image here, and also we have an attachment with the certificate in the PDF format. You can download. Okay, so let's go to the script file. And this is the spreadsheet with the app script in this file. And we have some data here for the certificate. As you can see here, we have all the information for the certificate we need to create. We have a title, we have a certificate for the student name, we have some content to add for the student, and we also have a school name, teacher name, and a date. And at last we have the email address for the student, so you can send an email to the student for their certificate. Okay, and here is the template for the certificate, so you can do some modification here. So you can design your artwork for the certificate and make sure all the placeholders are also in the template, like the title, student name, content, school name, teacher name, and date. So make sure all the placeholders can be found in this data, in this table, in this data sheet. Okay, so if you have new content, if you have new placeholders, you just need to insert a column. Okay, and name your placeholder here, and make a new column for the placeholder and put content here for each certificate. Okay, just like this. All right, so once you have all this information, you have the template, you have the content for the certificate, we can run this function here to create certificates. So here we're going to create two certificates, one for Molly Green and one for myself. So we try to create it. So we're going to create a PDF file and send an email. Okay, so it's running. If we go to this folder, as you can see, we have one for Molly Green, and it's running for the second one for myself. Okay, so it's finished it, and I should be able to have two certificates, like say for this one for me. So this is a PDF file. You can see here, all the title is replaced, student's name is replaced, the content for certificate also replaced, school, teacher, and the date also replaced. So you have this certificate, and you also can send this to your students. And the email should be also sent to the students. Let me check my inbox. Refresh it. Okay, so one for Molly Green and one for myself. Okay, so that's all for this project. So if you're going to use this for yourself, you please copy my file, and you need to do some very tiny modifications so you can use it. So let me show you how to do it. So first of all, please go to the file menu and make a copy of this file to your Google Drive. Let's rename it for YouTube video. Okay. So once you have this new file, I don't need this old file anymore. So once you copy this file, the code will also be copied. You go to the tools and the script editor. You should be able to see all the code in the script editor. And before that, I'd like to let you know you also need to create a template on your Google Drive. You can copy it. You can make a copy of mine, and you also can create your own. Okay, so let's go to the script editor. So once you have your own template, please make a copy of the template ID here between these two forward slashes. I just highlight here. So this is the ID of my template. You need to copy this ID of your own template and replace the code here in line 74. So this ID is the template ID. You need to replace this one with your own template ID. Okay, so this is the only thing you need to do. You need to modify. So once you modify this ID, you can try to run this function. Since for me, I didn't change anything. I didn't the template is on my drive. I don't need to change it, so I can run it directly. So for the first time, you need to do the authorization. Choose your account, advanced. Okay, so all the APIs we're going to use for this project, allow them to use your APIs. Okay, so now it's running. I'd like to remove both of them. So since these two are old file, remove them. So first right create it, and this is a temporary file. It will be removed after the PDF is created. Let's wait. It's running. Okay, it's done. I think it's done. I remove the, okay, it's done here. Now we have both certificates we just created, and we should have two new emails, right? So everything looks fine. So if you have a new template and you only need to modify the placeholders, you need to modify the artworks for your certificate or something else. So you just add or remove the placeholders and make sure all the placeholders are in columns. Okay, make the placeholders in this row 1 in the header section. So you can remove for the order of the column, it doesn't matter. So you can put a title in last column, it doesn't matter. So you make sure the placeholders can be found in this data sheet or it will not be replaced. So for the users who want to do some modification in the code, so can do much more complex stuff, I'd like to explain the code to you so you can do some modification in the code. Alright, so in this code section here, from the last, I'd like to explain the first function here, this onOpen function. So every time you open your spreadsheet, we're going to run this function, and if the spreadsheet is open, it's going to create a menu with name certificate. That's why you see here we have this menu here, certificate, and we also need to add an item for function. For this create button here, you can click. Okay, so if you click this function, this button here, you're going to trigger this function here with name main. So here we define this main function. In this main function, we have ID for the template. So that's why we need to change it. If you copy it, if you have your own template, you need to change this ID to your template ID. So once we have the ID, we can use this Drive app API to retrieve this template file. So once we have this template, we need to do something else. We need to get the data so we can create the template. So we can create a certificate with template and the data here. So for this data, we have a function named getData function. Is defined here. This function, we're going to create an array of objects with placeholders from the data in this spreadsheet. Okay, so all this content here. So let me show you the data, how it looks like. So it's an array. I like to log the first one to you. Logger log. So I'm going to log the data, the first element in this data array. So you can see how it looks like. All right, so this is the first element in this data we just got from this spreadsheet. So this is the first element. We start from row 2, okay, the headers, their keys for the object. So as you can see here, this is object. This is object. So with the key in the header and the value in the row. So this is the key, this is the value, this is the key, this is the value. And for row 2 and for row 3, this is the key, this is the value. Okay, so it's just the key value pairs object, and you can see here we have the date key and the date value, school name key, school name value, just like this. So once we get this data, we can use this data. We're going to replace the key in your template and replace it with the value, the actual value. Okay. So this is very simple to get. So let me explain it a little bit. So first we get the active spreadsheet and then we get the sheet by name. Okay, so we have a sheet name data here. So we can use this getSheet by name function to get the sheet. And if you change the name to another name, you need to modify the name here as well. And once we have the worksheet, we can get the values in this worksheet. And we use this getDataRange function to get all the data in this spreadsheet. And we also retrieve the data in a two-dimensional array. So this data range is dynamic. It depends on how many rows and how many columns in your spreadsheet. So if you add more lines and add more rows in this data sheet, you will get a larger array for these values. Okay, and we here defined a data array here, empty array. We need to push the object to this data. So for each row in the values, so we start from the second row and we define a new object for the row data, and then we also cycle through each columns to retrieve the values for each columns. Okay, so if we start from the row 2, we're going to loop through A2, B2, C2 for the values, and A1 for the key, B1 for the key. Okay, here is the key values 0 column index. So since it starts from 0, so 0 means the row 1. Okay, so this is the value, key value pair for the row data object. And once we get the object, we're going to push the data to this data array. All right, so as you can see here, we have the log for the first element is the key value pair in an array. Okay, so we don't need to this log anymore. So once we have the data, we have the template, we're going to cycle through the data. So for each row, each row of the data, I'm going to create a certificate. Okay, so we cycle through the data. So for each rows in this data, I'm going to use this function, create certificate function, with the data, the row data here in this data array, and with this template we just got with this ID. So in this create certificate function here on the top, so with data and the template, so this data is an object. In this data object, we have a lot of information about the student. As you can see here, we have title, student name, content, school name, teacher, date, and the email. So first of all, we need to get the student's name, and with key, student name. For email, we also, in the same way, we get the email with the key email in curly brackets. Okay, and for this name, this is a file name. So for the file name, we add a certificate dash at the beginning and join the student's name, and at last we joined the date and time. So if we go back to the file we just created, this name consists of 3 parts. For first one is always certificate dash and the student's name, and the time and the date when the file is created. All right, so this is the file name. And for this destination, it is a destination folder where you want to hold all the certificate on your drive. So for this one, we since I designed this, so all the certificate created will be placed in the same folder where you create your certificate template. So they should be created in the same folder. This code is to make sure the destination folder is the same with the template. So we got a template, we got the template, we got the parent folder of this template, and we use this next function to retrieve the folder. All right. So if you have a specific folder you'd like to use, you also can change this to another folder. So you can use this drive app API. You can use the function get folder by ID. So you can copy any folder ID from your drive. So let's say for this one certificate folder, you just copy this ID, folder ID, and put the ID, replace this ID with your folder ID. So this will get a folder object for your destination folder. So you can replace, you can copy this and replace this code with your folder. Okay, so this is another option for you. So once you get the destination folder, we can create a copy template. So we just make a copy of this template to the destination folder. So this copy template will be template. Make a copy of this template and rename it with the name we just created, and put the copied template to this destination folder. Okay, so once we have this copy template, we need to open it with the slide apps API so we can handle the slides in our code. We have the slide variable, and we opened this copied template with this slides API. So opened by ID. So this copied template, we're going to get the ID of this copied template, and we're going to open it with this slide API. So once we have this slide opened, we can get the first slide of this slide. Since we only have one slide in this presentation, so we use this slide get slides. We're going to get the first element with the 0 index. So we only have one here. So if you have more slides in your template, you need to do some modification here. You need to cycle through all these slides and do all the functions we're going to do with the first slide. Okay, so you need to do some modification here if you have multi slides in your presentation. All right. So once we have the first slide, we need to get all the page elements in this slide. So first slide, get a page elements function to get all the elements. So for each element in the slide, we're going to cycle through all the elements, and we're going to replace the placeholders in this element. So first of all, we need to check the element type. Since for all these placeholders, we put them in a shape. You can see here is a shape here, square. Okay, is a shape. So we need to first we need to make sure the type is a shape. So here we need to check if the type is a slide. So if the page element type is a shape, and if it is a shape, we need to do something here. So we get the object keys from the data. So for these keys, you are going to be the keys like this: title, students, content, and we're going to cycle through all these keys. So we're going to get the key for one by one, and once we have the key, we're going to replace the text in the shape. So if let me make an example here. So for this shape, we have text title. Okay, so I'm going to replace. So once we have key named title and key value, the data value with the key, we're going to be the content. Okay, we're going to replace this title placeholder and with the real content in this data object. So that's the way we're going to replace all the placeholders. So once we replace all the placeholders in the slide, we're going to save the slide and close it. So then at here we're going to have a new slide with all the placeholders replaced. All right. So once we have the placeholder replaced, we're going to create a PDF file from that copied from this slide. So from this slide with the placeholder replaced, and we're going to get the slide as a PDF format. Okay, so this will convert the slide file to a PDF blob, and we're going to create this PDF file in the destination folder with this blob. This is we're going to create a template. We're going to create this PDF file like this. When we have this PDF file, we're going to export the first slide as an image in the PNG format. So this URL is to export the slide as an image. So it is very similar to this function you do. So if you go to your presentation, you can go to File, you can download the slide as a JPEG or PNG file, just like the action you do like this. So if you click here, you're going to download image for you. So this URL here is going to download an image. So we just use the URL fetch app API to fetch the URL. So we can fetch the PNG file through this URL, and we get the blob we're going to use in our email. So we also set the name of the image. Okay, so once we have the PDF, we have the image file, we need to send the email to the student. So for the receipt, it is the email address we just get at the beginning to get the email address. And for subject, I use the file name as subject. You can change it to whatever you want. And for the body, I keep it as empty because we're going to use the HTML body here. So for the options, we have 3 three elements in this object, and for the first one is the HTML body. For the second one is the inline images. It's basically for the PNG file, and the last one is the attachment for the PDF. All right. So this HTML body here, as you can see in my email, I have a header here, have a navbar like navbar here, have a bar like this, and we also have an image like this, and this is the PDF. So very few lines of code with HTML and the CSS to add the styles. So it's just to make your email looks better. So this is very important for the image. So here, for the image source, we need to use this CID with a key of image. So this key should be here in this inline image object. Make sure this key can be found in this inline image object, or you will get a wrong image. Okay. So once you have the image, you have the attachment. Now you can send the email. So once the email is sent to the students, we also like to remove the file. Remove actually is delete the copied template. So that's why you only see the PDF file. You don't see a copy of this template, since it is removed. We don't need to keep it, so we just remove it. So basically, that's all for this project. And let me try to run create two more certificates. One for my cat, Nikon 99, and one for what? For GAS, okay, for Google Apps Script. Let's do Google Apps Script. All right, let's do this. Create. So basically, if you have new placeholders, you can insert anywhere in this data sheet. Okay, the order doesn't matter. You can insert at the beginning or at the end. Not sure if they are created. Okay, so for MyCat, Nikon 99, and for the Google Apps Script. All right, so maybe you need to handle this issue because the name is too long. So you maybe need to consider this issue. For Nikon 99 looks good. So for this issue, maybe you need to change your template for a small font size, or you can do something like remove the middle name. I'm not sure. So maybe they have a very long name. So you need to handle this, or you also can make sure the name length keep it at a minimal maximal name length. Okay, you can set a validation here. All right. So basically, that's all for today's video. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave a comment. And you also can send an email to me. It doesn't matter. So that's it for today. And thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.